as a church, are constantly talking about the needs that this world has, that the people in our neighborhood have, that the people in our city have. And this year, 2016, here at the church, we'll be talking a little bit about what kind of impact we as a church and as individuals can have on the community and on the people around us. If you are following news at all, you are realizing that we are living in a very chaotic world. I mean, we are living in a polarized world. We are living in a world where people are more disunited than united on all kinds of areas, whether it's political or religious or, I mean, people are fighting about all kinds of things. People are fighting about the climate change. Some are saying the weather is changing and we are affecting it. Others are saying it's not true. And I mean, we see all of these crazy things going on in the world. And then what about all of the things that affect our daily life, our health, our physical health, our mental health, the food that we eat, the water that we drink? I mean, you are seeing what's going on in Flint, Michigan. In Arvada the other day, I think yesterday, they found a lot of lead in one of the schools here in the district. So they don't know what's going on there. I mean, but if you're drinking, for example, city tap water from your tap in your kitchen, you know, you're probably putting all kinds of chemicals and pharmaceuticals into your own body that have never been cleaned out properly out of the system. We're living in a world that's suffering on all kinds of levels. Suffering with illness, with overweight, with disease, with poverty, with all kinds of things. And the churches, some of them are trying to do something about it. Others don't know what to do about it. I just wanted to give you a tiny little picture, and I'm sure you've seen this example before. If there were only 100 people in the world, this is what our world would look like. And 57 of them would be Asians. If you took all of the people in the world, and if you reduce them to 100 people, just for the purpose of illustration and for the purpose of understanding, 57% of the world, or 57 of those people, would be Asian. 21 people would be from Europe. 21 of those people in the world would be from Europe. 14 would be from both North and South America. That's Canada, United States of America, Mexico, and all of the South America. And then 8 would be Africans. So this is the composition of our planet right now, if you look at it. So I just want you to take a look at a couple of other things. 70 of those 100 people would be non-white. 70 would not be white. 30, obviously then, 30% or 30 would be white. That's basically Europeans and Americans, Australians, and a few others. 70 of those 100 people in the world, 70% of the world today is non-Christian. If you had only 100 people living on this planet, 70 of them would not have been a Christian. They would have been something else, either a Buddhist or a Muslim or something else, one of the other religions. So only 30% are Christian. 89% would be straight, 11% would be gay. 11 out of all 100 people on this planet would be gay. So I'm not saying good, bad, anything. I'm just saying this is what our planet looks like at this point. Now, look at the next one. 6 of the 100 would own 60% of all wealth on the whole planet, and all of those 6 people would be living here in the United States. So basically today you have 6% of the world population is controlling 60% of the world's wealth, and majority of those super rich people live here in the United States of America. 80 of the 100, now look at it, 80% of the world's planet is living in a substandard housing. Substandard housing means no running water, no toilet, no hot water whatsoever to speak of, no plumbing. That's substandard housing. 80% of the world's population lives like this. 70 70 out of 100 could not read. You know, we sometimes, I think, by living here in this country, we just don't understand or realize the true state of our planet. 50 would suffer from malnutrition. In other words, not getting enough food, not getting enough vitamins, minerals into their body to maintain a healthy body. 50%. One would have a college degree, and one would own a computer. This is the state, this is a very simplified state of our planet. And obviously, when you are thinking about us living here in the United States, if you're living in a trailer house, if you're living in the cheapest neighborhood of all, if you can't find anything cheaper, if you're living on the edge of town in the cheapest trailer home that you can find, and if it has running water, and if it has toilet, and if it has hot water and heat, you are better off than 80% of the world's population. So this is where we are as a planet. I'm not even getting here into health issues. I'm not even getting here into psychological issues. I'm not even getting here into wars and famine and disease that's prevalent all over the planet, I'm not even getting into any of that stuff. And as a church, the question is, how do we make the world a better place, and can we even do it as a church? How do you do it? What do you change? Where do you go from here? So I've picked out of the Bible a few samples, a few pieces of advice that I think we as individuals can apply in our own lives in order to make this world a little bit better, because that's what it's all about in the end, isn't it? If we just live on this planet and don't do nothing about it, just worry about ourselves, then the generations that come after us, they're going to have to deal with all of the mistakes and issues and problems that we are not resolving ourselves. When it comes to Christianity, I believe that we should, number one, follow the example of Jesus. And, let me just give you an example, the story that I just read this morning online. A lady is a waitress in a restaurant, and she's obviously gay. You can tell by the way how she looks. And a group of Christian women come to the restaurant, and they sit and they eat, and the whole time they're looking at this waitress in a negative, angry way. They're not happy with her because she's gay. This is a true story. You can find it online this morning. And by the time the meal is done, instead of giving her a tip on the bill, they write the verse from the Bible that says, if a man lays with another man, they shall both be killed, slain, from the Old Testament. And then on the bottom of the receipt, they say, we are praying for you. Now, if you are looking at what's going on in Christian churches, you find out that younger generation are leaving the church by millions. Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, Seventh-day Adventist, you name it. Younger people are just not coming to church anymore. Why? Why? Across the country, in Europe, churches are literally empty. Australia, churches are literally empty. Canada, United States now is catching up to that phenomena where people are just not attending church anymore. And I think it has to do with this holier than thou attitude that a lot of Christians have. We are better than anybody else, and the Christians have taken it upon themselves to judge everybody instead of walk like Jesus walked. To judge and to persecute and to yell and scream and to hold up signs and all of that stuff, instead of walking the way Jesus walked. And the way Jesus walked was a lot different than Christians walk today, and that's why I think we are losing as a Christianity. I have given you an example that as I have done, so should you do. That's what Jesus says. So he has given us an example in the Bible, in the New Testament, in the Gospels. We have the examples of how Jesus lived his life. His life was a life of compassion, wasn't it? His life was a life of forgiving people. His life was always about going the second mile for another human being. His life was a life of sacrifice for other people. That's what his life was all about. And he says to us, I've given you an example. You need to live the way I have lived. And I think today, if as Christians we even want to discuss changing the world for the better, this has to be absolutely the first requirement, is to take a look at our lives and to compare that to the life of Jesus and to see if we are walking the walk that he walked. I mean, we can talk about the hospitals and clean water filters, and we can talk about all of these other things, out there that this world needs, and that's all fine, and it needs to be done. But at the same time, unless there is a change in our own lives, unless there is a change in how we treat other people, this world is not going to get any better. It is only going to continue to stay polarized and to even drift further apart, we will, from each other, as we have already seen here in the United States, for example. Right now, as you are looking at the politics and who's going to be the next president of the United States, the whole country is just divided right there in half. And this is happening all over the world. And Christianity, followers of Jesus, really ought to be the glue that brings people together, ought to be the people of change, ought to be the people of positivity, ought to be the people that really are showing the rest of the world that what Jesus did and how he walked on this earth, it's possible for us to do that also in the power of God. So that's step number one. Step number two, live by the Bible. I mean, we say that all the time. The Bible is very clear. The Bible tells us, James tells us in James 1:22, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Some people, they just like to study or listen or turn on the sermon in their car and listen to different preachers or on TV or whatever. That's all fine. We can listen, we can debate, we can study, we can learn Greek, we can learn Hebrew, we can go take classes in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the archaeology. You can do all of that stuff. But unless you do what the Word says, this world is not going to change. And the Word, God's Word, is very clear as to what it says. It says, take care of the poor. It says, take care of the needy. It says, do not take offense when somebody cusses you out. It says, forgive when somebody cheats you or robs you or steals from you or offends you in some way. That's what the Bible says. So Bible, Jesus, is calling us to a kind of life that's totally different than what this world is promoting as the right way to live. I mean, if you're watching movies, it's always somebody shoots me and I'm going to shoot them. And somebody hits me and I'm going to hit them back. And it's always eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth in this world. It's always me, number one. Make money, enjoy, live a high life. That's what this world is all about. Buy a better car, buy a faster car, buy a bigger house, all of that stuff. That's not what the Bible says. It says pay attention to the needs and the suffering of others. 80% of the people on this planet are living in a substandard housing. In the city of Denver, today we canceled our street beat because of the weather. But when you go outside in the city of Denver, you will find that there is probably 10, 11, 12,000 people living on the city streets? What's the answer to these kinds of problems? I tell you one thing, it's certainly not what the city of Denver is doing, is just evicting everybody from parks and kicking them off of the sidewalks. That's not the solution to the problem. You cannot sweep those kinds of problems under the rug. And that's what the city officials are doing, because they don't want these people standing in front of fancy shops downtown. You see, now what do we as Christians, a lot of Christians will say, well, yeah, if they don't want to work, if they don't want to go out there and find jobs, then why should we take care of them? Bible doesn't say that. Jesus says, when you see somebody who is hungry, feed them. When you see somebody who is naked, clothe them. When you see somebody who is in prison, go and visit them. It doesn't say judge them first and see if they deserve it or not. It just basically says if you see the need, take care of it. It doesn't say if they are lazy, then don't feed them. It says if they are hungry, feed them. That's what the Bible says. So, follow the examples of Jesus, walk in the ways that Jesus walked, and then do what the Bible says instead of just perpetually study it and go to church and go from one Bible study to another. Number 3, I think, is a crucial one. Let God change you. Everyone, a Russian writer, Leo Tolstoy, said, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. And if you really think about it, it's true, isn't it? Even when you listen to all of these politicians, they all want to change the world, and they want to change how things are, and they want to change how America is and all of this stuff, but nobody wants to change themselves. Nobody wants to allow God to change them, because it is always, for us as human beings, it is always easier to see the fault in others than to see it in our own selves. It is always easier to see other problems than to see the ones that you have in your own life. The Bible says, James again, therefore rid yourselves of everything impure and every expression of wickedness. This is talking about change. Rid yourselves of everything that is impure. What is impure? Anger, hate, prejudice, racism. Those things are impure. Desiring what doesn't belong to you. These things are impure. Violence, that's impurity, you see. The Bible says, rid yourselves of everything impure and every expression of wickedness. And with a gentle spirit, I want you to understand what this says. Welcome the word planted in you that can save your souls. What is the word that is planted in you? According to the Bible, in the beginning there was a word. And the word was with God. And the word was God. According to the Bible, the word is Jesus Christ, Son of God. He's the word. So here you have a verse that says, with a gentle spirit, welcome Jesus, who has been planted in you, because he can save your soul. You see, Jesus is the one who saves our soul. So do we welcome Jesus on a daily basis into our life and ask him to be a part of who we are? We're talking about the spiritual transformation. We're talking about the spiritual chemical mix here that nobody can explain. Where you and I, as a human being, when we get up in the morning, when we open the doors of our heart and soul to the Word, to Jesus, and say, you know what? Come on in. If I'm going to follow according to your steps, if I'm going to walk the way you walked, then I need to have you in my soul, in my heart, in my life. That's what that means. In other words, you are consciously making a decision to allow a higher power into your life. Conscious decision to allow a higher power, spiritual being, Jesus Christ, into your life. It is something that you have to actually do, because if you don't, Jesus is not just going to force his way into your life and your heart. He's just not going to do that. Because you have the authority over the door into your soul, over the door into your life. You have the authority to decide who is going to control your life. Let me tell you something. If you don't make the decision to have Jesus come into your life, then there are out there other powers that will force their way into your life. And you know what? I mean, there is no shortage of ways and means for Satan to get a hold and a control of your life. I mean, just watch the TV for an hour or two. And the violence and the anger and the racism and the prejudice and the sexism and the, just filth will fill your heart in a matter of nothing. And it stays there in your soul, and you have to process that garbage, you see. And if that's not enough, listen to some of these politicians out there and have them fill your head with all kinds of hate and anger and just nothing good. So this world is just full of bad stuff. So the only way to keep it out is to invite Jesus into your life on a daily basis. With a gentle spirit, welcome Jesus into your life, that he can save your soul. So allow God to change you. It's a personal decision. It's a choice that you make on a daily basis. Number 4, work for others. Again, we already talked about it. If you see somebody who is hungry, if one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed. If you see somebody who is hungry and you tell them, oh yeah, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't stay out there in the cold. You're going to freeze out there. Just go ahead, take care of yourself. Everything will be fine. And people say that all the time, right? Go in peace, keep warm, keep well fed. But you do nothing about their physical needs, then what good is it? Just telling people, hey, I'm praying for you. Cool. That's nice. But if there is something that you can do for them, besides just praying, then you ought to do that. I'm not saying we always can. Sometimes we don't have the means, right? I understand that. But if you have the means to alleviate somebody's pain and suffering, even a little bit, then you have the responsibility. That's what the Bible says. We are never going to solve everybody's problems, and you're not either. If you were the richest person in the world, and if you took all of your money and gave it to the poor, it would be good for a few days, as many poor people as we have on this planet, you see. But if you can spare $5 this month to help alleviate somebody else's suffering, then you've done something. Then you have done more than just say, hey, take care of yourself, I'll be praying for you. I think as Christians, when we, next time you catch yourself, I want you to remember this, next time you catch yourself saying to somebody, hey, take care of yourself, I'll be praying for you, I want you to ask yourself, is there something more that I could do? I really want you to ask yourself that. Don't leave it that I'm just going to pray for you. And if there is something else you can do for you, $2, $3, a bottle of water, 2 for $1 burgers, I don't care. You know what I mean? If there is something you can do, then you ought to do it. I think that this kind of attitude and the change that comes from inside into all of ourselves is what is going to make this world better. Number 5, I chose this one because I think it resonates with me. It resonates with a lot of people. Live a quiet life, right? Live a quiet life. 1 Thessalonians 4:11. And I say this in the context of what's going on in this world where everything is crazy and loud and not quiet, right? And to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, you should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you. And a lot of people are seeking excitement and craziness. And, I think as Christians, we should be praying for quiet life as opposed to life of wars and a life of conflicts and the life of fights and the life of violence on this planet. Wouldn't it be nice if there was no wars at all right now, this morning? Right now, this morning, 500 million people, 500 million people are living in a war zones. Think of the kids, think of the babies. Wouldn't it be nice if this planet, if everybody on this planet would start living a quiet life, a relaxed life, a life without having to fight with your neighbors and whoever else? And I think that's something that we as Christians should strive for. To live and not just strive for, but also give an example to the rest of the people around us. That seeking a quiet life is valuable and it's good. Doesn't have to be exciting all the time. I'm not against exciting, but I'm against crazy, you see. So that's another way that I think this world needs to learn from Jesus. Jesus is the one that brings quietness and peace into our lives. And then last point that I want to share with you is practice what you believe. And in Matthew 7:3-5, Jesus said, excuse me, and I think this is very important, to be authentic and to be genuine and to be honest. We want to change the world, we have to look at ourselves first. Why do you look at a speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? It's easy to judge, isn't it? We get back to that same point that I started out with. It's easy to judge others. It's easy to judge the world. It's easy to judge this planet. It's easy to judge other faiths, other religions, other cultures, other ethnicities, other countries. It's easy to judge. It's easy to judge people, other people in the church. It's easy to judge people in other churches. All of that. But Jesus says, hey, why do you look at a speck in somebody else's eye? Why don't you look at the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And I think this is one of the keys to making the world a better place. Is clear vision. But in order to have clear vision, you have to fix your own eyes first. In order to truly understand the realities of what's going on in this world, to fix yourself first. You can't go in and judge everybody based on your own feelings or experiences or whatnot. So that's why I keep going back. Every time when I preach, I keep going back to, hey, what's your relationship with Jesus look like? How's your life this morning with God? Are you in the right place with Him? What has been going on in your week that was good when it comes to your relationship with God? And has there been something that was bad? And what can you do today to get on the right track with Jesus again? And, I think as a church, as Christians, as the Arvada church here, we will make an impact on our community. We are making an impact on our city. But it all starts right here. It all starts right here in the heart, where we allow God to change ourselves first. Thank you for coming, and God bless you this morning. Milos, I don't know if you have any more announcements or a closing prayer. Thank you. Amen. Thanks, man.